Indie games have become one of the most important pillars of the video game industry. As the big companies sink further and further into anti-consumerism and impressively stupid business decisions motivated by greed and desperation, having independent creators pursue the art of making video games for the sheer love of the craft preserves all of the wonderful things that have made the gaming community so special. We should all be incredibly grateful for the creativity, innovation, and endless hours of enjoyment that independent developers provide, and today it's my privilege to present to you one such team of creators. I was contacted a while ago by Team 7th Star, an indie developer that wanted me to review their upcoming debut game, Code Bunny. I was flattered they thought my tiny little channel was worth reaching out to, which was even smaller back then, and I was excited to receive such a request. But I have to admit it was also a little daunting. I'm committed to keeping my content honest and genuine, and I knew that if I didn't like the game, I would have to be straightforward about that, and nothing would pain me more than to have to criticize a passion project from a small team. But my worries turned out to be completely unfounded.
Good news, everyone!
I just finished playing through Code Bunny, and it is an incredible game. Now before we start, I want to make clear that I am not being sponsored by Team 7th Star. I received a review key for the game, but I'm free to say whatever I want, and they encouraged me to be open about any criticisms I may have. So with that in mind, I hope you'll join me as I discuss this absolute gem. Code Bunny is an action platformer with a focus on speedy navigation and combat. There are two playable characters with their own unique storylines, and they both have adorable and striking designs, like all the characters in this game. But more on that in a moment. When I said this game is speedy, I meant it. Hazel and Axel each have their own set of tools to blitz through enemies, dash through levels, and annihilate bosses. Hazel can mark enemies from afar and zip in with her lightning-fast Ghost Crescent, which can dispatch enemies with ease and is also an intuitive and endlessly fun tool for platforming. Racking up combos and hitting marked enemies builds up her Karma meter, which increases damage dealt both to her enemies and to herself, making it an incredibly satisfying risk-reward system. If her Karma exceeds her health, she starts doing insane damage, but even a single hit will reduce her to 1 hit point, so managing Karma is crucial to optimal play. Axel's toolkit is focused much less on combat and more on acrobatics and nimble navigation. His spin move allows him to ricochet off enemies and build up momentum, and he can also bounce off their heads with his stomp attack. These abilities fill up his EX gauge, which can be used for a variety of powered-up platforming and combat moves, making him extremely versatile. All this means that Axel never stops moving, if you know what you're doing. Which I don't. Don't judge Axel by my poor gameplay. I struggled a bit with him. Both of these characters provide distinct and incredibly fun gameplay, and they each have their own levels tailor-made for their abilities. The more you play this game, the more fun it becomes, as you learn how to utilize their unique abilities and optimize both combat and navigation. Each level gives you a score at the end based on your combos and completion time, which provides satisfying feedback on your performance. I particularly enjoyed the bosses. They're simple but flashy, and they work perfectly with the mechanics of the protagonist, and that kinda goes for the rest of the game. The levels and enemies are all fairly basic, but they lend themselves to the gameplay loop Code Bunny executes so well. Both campaigns are pretty short too, which is a little disappointing, but it also means it's perfect for replayability and refining your gameplay. There is endless amounts of fun to be had with this game, and I really appreciate that it isn't over-ambitious and clunky. It's compact and executes what it does perfectly. And that isn't only true for the gameplay, but also everything else about the game. Code Bunny doesn't offer too much in the way of story. As I said, the game is really short, and each protagonist's campaign retreads the same ground as far as plot goes. But what's there is really good, and it's propped up by excellent characters with striking personalities and adorable designs. Axel and Hazel work for a company called Logos Hyperbolics, which works together with the government of Xanadu to harvest energy from a comet. This energy is called Aether, and the people of planet Lumna have come to rely on it, similarly to electricity in our world. Axel and Hazel are tasked with hunting down a terrorist group calling themselves Mad Bunny, and they are both faced with ghosts from their past as they come to terms with the nature of their world. A minute ago I said Hazel and Axel both go over the same story beats, and that's true, but it's delivered uniquely for each of them, and their stories diverge a bit towards the second half of the game. Between each mission you can take part in conversations with the other characters, giving them all a bit more depth. Since the story is so short, I don't want to spoil it. You should absolutely play through this yourself. It's really interesting and engaging, and that's impressive given how compact it is. The art style is incredible, the dialogue is sharp and witty, and the characters stand out. It's all really charming, and I had a great time with it. Full disclosure, I'm not a furry, but I do adore stories about anthropomorphic animals thanks to my lifelong love of Star Fox, and Code Bunny really tapped into that for me. It's an earnest but lighthearted experience, and most of all, it's incredibly fun. Once you've beaten the story mode, you can play Classic Mode, which skips all cutscenes and story events, allowing you to focus on the gameplay of each level. And if you're up for a real challenge, you can try the Speedrun mode, in which you play all the missions back to back and try to get the best time you can. My best is a 1958 with Hazel. I'm expecting a Summoning Salt video any day now. Overall, I had a ton of fun with Code Bunny, and you should absolutely give it a chance. It isn't perfect, the story does move very quickly, meaning character development and plot progression can be hard to follow. There are a very small number of enemy types, but I think the level design does enough to keep the gameplay fresh throughout the experience. Axel sometimes feels a bit clunky, though that could just be a skill issue on my part, but I think Hazel is definitely more fun. But make no mistake, Code Bunny is a great time, and for this being just their first game, Team 7th Star did a fantastic job. And don't just take my word for it. At the time of writing this, it has 61 reviews on Steam, and every single one is positive. It's just $10, which is a steal, and the devs are committed to delivering free content updates over the coming months. So do yourself a favor and pick up Code Bunny, or wishlist it to support Team 7th Star. They clearly have a lot of talent, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do in the future. A huge thank you to you for watching this video and supporting the channel, and to Team 7th Star for providing me with a great game to play and talk about. This is my first time talking about a game that isn't 20 years old at least, and it was refreshing. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you'll give Code Bunny a try. It's important to support our indie developers now more than ever. Remember to like and subscribe while you're here, and I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. I'd also like to announce that this Friday, if the weather allows, I will be streaming my playthrough of Donkey Kong 64. I'd love to see you there, and I think it would be a great chance to connect with those of you that have been following my channel. In any case, I hope this video finds you well, and I will see you next time. Take care.